I love my job. Every now and then, we get to do something really, really cool that validates all the effort and hard work that we put in. And when I tell you that we are being joined by one of the most legendary, one of the most storied, one of the most celebrated creators of all time in the history of comics, somebody who, if you told me, told Cale 5 years ago that we'd be sitting here right now talking to, we would not have believed you. We are sitting right now with someone who needs no introduction, but he's getting one anyway because he's that good. We are sitting live with Mark Waid. Mark, thank you so much for joining us.
Please hold your applause.
Wow.
Okay. No. My pleasure, guys.
We've been talking about doing this for so long, and when we finally got word that we were going to have you on the show, we were all blown away. I mean, we could talk to you. We got 30 minutes. We could talk for 3 hours, quite frankly.
Frankly, I could probably talk for 3 hours too if I could, but there's 14 comics that have to be written this week. So,
This week.
that's a typical week for me. I don't know. I'm
Oh,
exaggerating,
okay.
but only by a little bit.
Right. So like 13.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Well, you've really been on a tear with DC over the last few years, and it's been incredible to watch between, Action Comics, all the great stuff you've been doing that's so exciting. But I want to start with World's Finest
Sure.
because World's Finest has been, we were saying it was DC's best book 5 issues in, 10 issues in, 15, 20, and it never stopped. How fun has it been to work with Dan Mora and all the other incredible artists that you've gotten to work with throughout the World's Finest series, revisiting these characters that you love so much at a time period that you love so much, but kind of modernizing it at the same time?
Yeah, it's been a blast. I mean, the remit from DC was please give us a Superman Batman book that's a little bit previous in continuity so that I don't have to worry about keeping up with exactly what's happening in the books today. Because at that point when we launched, if you remember, Superman was in space on War World and Batman didn't have his fortune. So it's kind of hard to team them up right there. Um, but that was a dream. I mean, writing World's Finest, writing the two of them together has been a dream. And Dan Mora, man, did he understand the assignment, which was to help make sure that even though it was set in the past, it didn't come off as a retro book. It didn't come off as, a nostalgia act. And because Dan makes everything look modern, Dan, made everything just look exciting. And then the artists we've had coming on after him have carried that torch quite well, I think.
Absolutely. It continues to be an exciting series to read, and I like the fact that now, tethered into We Are Yesterday
Mhm.
and kind of colliding with Justice League Unlimited, there's this, this crossover that's going on, and it feels rewarding to me as somebody who's been reading World's Finest for a long time. That okay, now this book is finally kind of intersecting, and you're getting to pull all the toys out of the toy box with the Legion of Doom.
Yeah, yeah. It was a happy accident in that we knew that we were going to have two fill-in issues of World's Finest from artist wise, and we were going to have two fill-in issues of World's Finest, and they happen to line up at the same time. So, as good as Travis Moore and Clay, are as artists, they're amazing. To make sure they didn't get lumped in as, oh, just the fill-in guys. We thought, well, let's make an event out of it. Let's make a big deal out of it. And so that's how this came together. And my editor, Paul Kaminsky, suggested the Legion of Doom, and you can't go wrong with the Legion of Doom. And so it's really built into something that is pretty bombastic, and you haven't seen the half of it yet.
So your editor just suggests, oh, just write the best DC villains of all time. That's not a big deal, right? Yeah.
That's all, simply enough. But tricky because, at the moment, Luther is reformed and Brainiac is, on the other side of the galaxy, and who knows where Joker is. So the trick was, how do we get that band back together? And I think by now you've probably seen hints enough of how we're going to do that.
Well, I thought it was a really smart way to pull all that off and to kind of find a way to utilize these villains who you're right. I mean, these are the most legendary villains by and large for these heroes, but they're not necessarily aligned in the current continuity.
Right.
So just
Like,
kind of
right.
reaching back.
And
That's
time is broken too. This is what's going on in both those books, and it's going to spill out across the DC line. Time for the moment is broken, which is leading into a bigger event that I can't talk about yet. But as a consequence, just because we bring these characters from the past, the Legion of Doom from the past, it doesn't mean that they have to necessarily go back in the box exactly as we found them. There's shenanigans there too. There's lasting consequences. In other words, it's not, they're not all safe. There will be some interesting things that happen to some of the Legion of Doom that, if it were straight up continuity, you'd be saying, well, that doesn't make any sense. But with time broken, there's that all the rules are gone.
exciting.
And I love how you lean into the comic bookiness of it.
Yeah.
Like you
I mean,
can't
that's what it is.
do
I mean,
it. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, if you're going to do it, look, there have been everything's cyclical, right? There are times when everything in comics needs to be grim and gritty and dark. And there are times when it's okay to have some fun. And I function pretty well in both of those, in both those environments. But I do think that now is a time when we just need to have comics that are a blast.
Yeah, I couldn't
Amen.
agree more. And I love the fact that you're doing that,
Mhm.
but you're not removing the stakes from the books either. The stakes are
Right.
still present, but they're fun to read.
That's just it. I mean, that's the thing I have to bear in mind every single time is that that's that is as much as anything is what keeps it feeling like or it keeps it from feeling like a nostalgia act, right? Is that there should be serious stakes and serious consequences in these books, even if the tone is not as doom and grim and dark as it has been at other times. I think there's ways to do those kind of stories without without taking the bright colors out of it.
And that's a tricky balance because you've been writing World's Finest for a couple years now, and we already know Superman and Batman are not going to die,
Right.
but the book doesn't lack in stakes despite that. There's still things happening that feel like they matter, even if they only matter to that time frame that we're living in with that book.
Right. And then there's also stuff that matters beyond that. I mean, in the first arc that we did was set, with the Devil Neza as the villain who ends up being a big motivator in the Batman and Robin miniseries that we did set in the present. I like doing that a lot. I like doing what we can do to plant seeds in World's Finest that then blossom elsewhere in the DC universe, just to remind people that we're not siloed off.
How do you find the stakes in moments like that? Like we said, Superman. We know Superman and Batman will be fine,
Right.
but how do you look for ways to make the story dangerous still?
It's personal stuff more than anything else. It is not. I mean, yeah, we all know that these characters are not going to have anything cripplingly awful happen to them because this is set in the past. So, what can we do to put them through some sort of emotional ringer in World's Finest that is not necessarily lasting, but still leaves leaves room for drama in the moment. Again, the first arc, like I talked about, was the Devil Neza, but they had to make some real hard decisions about whether or not to kill the demon, whether or not to, but Superman doesn't believe in killing, but Batman is a little more flexible in this under the circumstances. Those are the kind of things that give you drama is characters sort of butting heads. And Superman and Batman and World's Finest are best friends, and they should be best friends because Batman is not stupid enough to alienate the greatest hero in the world who can help him do stuff. So what can you do to accentuate their differences? What can you do? And some of that also is bringing in other characters, bringing in Metamorpho, bringing in Aquaman, bringing in some other characters who can sort of, again, also add to the mix. I think the heart of the book really is taking characters you don't normally see together or characters that you haven't seen a whole lot of time together with them, like the Metal Men or whatever, and throwing them together and getting what tension you can out of those moments.
I I am looking at the chat right now. People are so excited that you are here.
Awesome.
This is such a huge community event for us. Your return and your ascension at DC over the last few years has really been Incredible to watch. As somebody who, loves your work and has read a lot of your work over the decades, seeing you back at DC working with everybody, all these great characters that you love, but also the creators, some of the
Yeah,
artists. We talked about Dan Mora, but all these incredible artists that you're now getting to team with. How important is this period of your career to you?
it's probably the most important part. I finally feel like, okay, I've been close to where I need to be a lot of times, but I really feel like this is exactly where I need to be. This is exactly what I've been building to. And I feel like I'm completely in whatever place that fate wanted me to go.
I think it's hilarious because there are seasoned readers, right, who know
Mhm.
Mark Waid from, Kingdom Come and Fantastic Four and all these other great things, right? Captain America. Then there are newer comic book readers like myself who know Mark Waid from, Irredeemable and all these other great books. But then there are the newest readers, right? Who, to them, Mark Waid could be some up and coming 30-year-old writer who's killing it on all these books that they're loving right now.
Exactly. God, he'll have another 30 years ahead of him. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's yeah,
that young upstart.
exactly. Whereas it's no, I mean, I'm very fortunate to be where I am. I think about that all the time. I thank the fans for continuing to buy the books. I am I'm grateful because I think it's later this month. I think it's the no, it is next month. My first comic book came out 40 years ago that month. And oh my God, it's been a great ride. And I have no intention of slowing down. But it's nice to know that there is still an audience out there who enjoys my work because that is the kind of career that most people are not fortunate enough to get.
Yeah, and 4 years later, you have a Fantastic Four comic and a Justice League comic coming out in the same month. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's awesome.
You've mentioned that in the position that you're in, now that you are in that position, and that comics are cyclical, the tone, the way that these things are brought about and expressed, how much of that is the direction that you, Mark Waid, is taking to put forward and put out, as much as it is I'm collaborating with the rest of the creators at a DC in order to direct that tone.
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to in any way take credit for setting a company-wide tone, but I will say that I guess to answer your question, this the surprise to DC, the surprise success of World's Finest, sort of did show them that there is a space for there's a little more wiggle room for fun than you might have thought there was. And then Justice League Unlimited and its success, same thing. So I've just been, I mean, I like swimming against the current. I always have. I mean, Flash, I did in the 90s at a time when everything was dark and grim and imagey and everything was chrome and guns, and we were completely against the grain doing just straight up fun superhero stories in Flash, and that worked, and it sort of let it kind of opened the door for things like Grant Morrison's Justice League and some other stuff. And so if I can if I can lead by example, I'm happy to do that. I'm not trying to pin any success of anybody else on what I've done, but I am lucky that DC's given me the opportunity to say, okay, look, there's there's room for different flavors here. Not everything has to be bright and shiny, but not everything has to be dark and gritty either.
But I think to your point, we've uncovered the appetite again for the bright and shiny, for
Yeah,
the positivism.
yeah,
It's funny because at some point or another, I heard Dan Buckley say it a few months ago, that, as a company, Marvel would like to, put out some more books that are fun and that not everything has to be, so bloody and intense and everything else. And I feel like right now is this time where like that's what we kind of want. We're kind of hungry
yeah.
for that. So your sentiments lock in perfectly with the times we're in.
I think so. I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like drinking every morning I get out of bed and look at the newspaper. So it is, or the headlines, whatever,
Sure.
newspaper. Listen to old man says newspaper. Every time I look at, CNN online. So I think that more than I can remember in a long, long time. I think we all get up in the morning and are looking for some fun and looking for some departure and looking for some escape and looking for positivity, looking for a world in which the bad guys don't win.
Maybe this is a bit of a weird question, but do you feel any responsibility is not the right word, but do you feel like, hey, I'm part of my job is to induce that fun and be that light through these stories in the lives of the readership?
I think it's a good question. I think more accurately, I feel like it's my responsibility to use these characters as they were originally conceived
Mm.
to remind people that might does not make right, that ethics and morals and kindness are very, very important virtues, and that there are things that are just wrong. There are, intolerance and bigotry and some of the stuff we're seeing in the country, right now. That's just
Yeah.
not the way things ought to be. There's no need for everything to be rage and screaming against the other and trying to make, and throwing the word communist around like it's nothing. I feel like it's my responsibility to help remind people that it there is a place for kindness and compassion in the world.
And I think that's built into the DNA of DC. With
Yeah,
Superman,
totally. It's in the
that's
DNA of superheroes. I mean, that's
exactly.
that's
Yep.
they were originally created as, adolescent fantasies to empower kids, and at heart, that's still what they are.
Yep.
We have so many listeners who are enraptured by what you're saying right now, and I want to throw one of their questions
Sure.
your way, if that's okay.
Yeah.
This one comes from Hayden's Hideout. Thank you for the $10 super chat, Hayden. With such a storied career as yours, there are bound to be books that are underappreciated. Is there a particular book you've written that you wish more people had read? Thank you for your time.
That's nice. That's a great question. I'm looking at the shelf right now. I do wish I have one that I really am happy with that nobody paid any attention to. And this is the year 2000. We did a
Oh,
big event at DC called the Silver Age, where we got a bunch of older artists with newer writers getting together to do homage books to the 60s and 70s. And I mean, there's some good stuff there. Kurt Busiek did one, Mark Millar did one. There's a lot of good stuff there, and I wish people would pay more attention to that. I wish that we're still in print. I yell at DC periodically to please put this back into print so people can appreciate this. That may be my favorite thing I've ever written that no one ever paid attention to.
well, now people are going to hit DC Universe Infinite and check if it's on there on the digital app. I would
And if
love to
it's
read
not, they
that.
should write their DC editors and demand.
It's your
I'm
local DC editors.
I'm not
Yeah.
trying to kiss up here. I remember that cover. I think I read
Yeah.
this. I think I read this.
You seem old enough to have done that. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Here's one from Common Sense with the 4.99. Since you wrote the new history of DC history, who is Golden Age Wonder Woman? Is it Diana or Hippolyta? Can you explain Donna Troy's origin as well? Okay, we don't have time to explain the
Donna
origins
Troy
of
is a whole
characters.
nother thing, although it will be explained. Hippolyta was the Golden Age Wonder Woman. Diana is the current Wonder Woman. There are so many characters, and I just finished proofreading the final version, the final draft of History #1, all colored and lettered and everything. Uh, and except for the fact that I accidentally conflated Resurrection Man and Immortal Man, which we've now fixed, I'm so mortified by that. Um, it hangs together really well. And I think that there's plenty of familiar stuff in there for old time readers or at least seasoned readers. But I know there's some real interesting curveballs and surprises and Easter eggs in there uh, for even newer readers, characters that maybe you don't recognize or characters who are doing things in time periods that you don't remember that happening. I want there to be an element of surprise in every issue.
That's exciting. That is very exciting. Atomic Hound. This one, Atomic Hound is a huge fan of yours. This guy is he loves him some Mark Waid. So
Nice to hear.
uh, he wrote in with the 1999. Really looking forward to Superboy. By my recollection, this is the first extended run of Clark as Superboy since pre-Crisis on
Yep,
Infinite Earths.
there
Are
is.
other See, he knows his stuff. Are
Yep.
other heroes going to be in play, or is this set in the dawn of Age of Heroes?
It's set in the dawn of Age of Heroes. It is. So there's nobody else. Well, I say that. It just, I don't want to give anything away, but there may be other characters in the DC universe coming into play sooner than later. But I don't want to say anything. It will give too much away. Uh, but yeah, you know, the idea was we every time we have done Clark as a young man, every time we have tried to take a swing at Superboy, even in the 50s and 60s, we always just treated him like he's Superman but short. Like he still had his act together. He was still a responsible, completely, completely put together character. Like he's just Superman but younger. And the fun of this is no, let's roll it back. He hasn't even begun to be Superboy yet. They haven't figured out any of this stuff. They have not figured out a costume. They have not figured out the glasses. They've not figured out a secret identity. Not all his powers kicked in yet. How do we see Superboy, Clark Kent? How do we see Clark Kent and the Kents build a Superboy out of this? And that is what's driving the book. It is not, okay, here's Superboy and here's the Legion of Superheroes and here's Crypto and it's all in place. No, we get to put some of this stuff in place and see how some of this stuff is born. And it also gives us a chance to get some real honest friction between fathers and sons and mothers and sons, because that in no way to make anybody look like a jerk or in make it look bad, but we're as kids, even Kryptonians have hormones, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has strong feelings, and
Mhm.
anybody who's ever had an argument with their parents can relate that even Clark and Ma and Pa don't always see eye to eye.
If I can extrapolate just a second,
Sure.
in the Superman summer special that came
Mhm.
out, was it recently? I
Yeah.
think you did chapter 1, is that right? With
Yes.
the Clark as the young Superboy.
Right.
What I really loved about what you did there, and what I feel like may come out of this series coming up, is the way Superboy is going through, this crazy super thing, but
Yeah.
he's messed up about his feelings about Lana, and then he gets a glimpse of his future
Right.
that wrecks him.
That he doesn't remember, because again, he's not, but there's a gut feeling in him when he comes back from that glimpse of the future and he sits down with Lana, and there's some gut feeling in him. It's
Yeah,
like this is not necessarily part of my future. Um, so I mean, that was a fun chapter to write. The Superboy stories that we're telling are even further back. So
sure. Okay.
another happy accident is that Skylar Patridge, who's doing the art and doing an amazing job, just for fun, drew the Superboy costume, but he's wearing Converse, and he's
Of
just
course.
wearing the kind of belt that you and I would wear. And that led to, yes, he hasn't even, they haven't even found the baby blankets yet. They don't even know to make a costume out of baby blankets yet. They're building
Hey.
the suit as we go.
Wow, that's what I needed to hear. I think
Yeah.
this whole thing is what I needed to hear to really, really believe in this book.
The
That sounds
best part of
awesome.
it to me is that every once in a while I'll say something like, okay, and here's how Clark gets his glasses. And my editors, who are all much younger than me, will go, what an amazing idea. What a clever twist. And I don't tell them that, no, it's the way it was when I was growing up reading books. But, but if you think I came up with it, great.
Go
Uh,
ahead, Cale.
Yeah, sure. I'll call out this super chat from Ted H. Thank you so
Mhm.
much, Ted. Around 5 a.m. here. Just wanted to say hi. Congrats on the interview, and hi, Mr. Waid. Truly love your integrity and honesty, and love your work as a new comic book reader. Please come
Thank you.
back more often. Wishing you all the best. Back to sleep now. Bye.
I was going to say, yeah, thank you for waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, which is something I would never do. So,
Thanks, Ted. Really appreciate that. Now, that kind of that kind of reminds me of something. He talked about your integrity. And everything that I know, I don't know you personally, but everything I've read and heard about you, it's always that same thing. It's the integrity of Mark Waid. And that made me think a lot about something that you did on your Thrillbent website,
Mhm.
2013, where you wrote the letter to
Yes,
young
yeah,
freelancers,
freelancers, yeah.
which I loved then and I love now.
Thank you.
My question is, how much of what you said then do you think is true today? And do you think that, like, what would your new sort of message to young people who want to make comics be, reflecting upon what you said at that time?
Luckily for you, if you go to markwaid.com, there should be an entry of it there. I did a keynote speech at Baltimore for the Ringo Awards, I guess last year, maybe the year before, and I revisited that with the idea of, okay, some of this stuff may be true, some of this stuff may not be true anymore. Maybe some new stuff has come up, and so so I don't waste your time answering this question when they can just go look at on markaway.com. I'm not trying to not answer your question. I just think there's a more coherent, cohesive answer there.
I can't wait to check it out. That's beautiful. I'm excited. Um, we've got one from Rami Darwish who says, "Absolute Power is my favorite modern DC event." After reading
Wow,
that,
thanks.
absolutely.
I
Uh,
can grab
And
MPs.
that's
yeah.
it. That's great. Good. Keep doing that, people. Just throw just compliments, no questions, just
Just
compliments.
praise. Just
Yeah.
praise. That's what
Well,
we're here for.
Abraham Bowen says, not a question, but I wanted to say I love your work, especially on Archie. That's one of my
Oh
favorite books
man, that was
ever.
so much fun to write.
I
I don't get
loved
a
your
ch-
Archie.
I don't get a chance to write humor very often. I mean, nobody
Yeah.
does in comics. It doesn't, there's no straight up comedy books. And I love writing Archie for that very reason. It just stretches a muscle that I don't normally get to stretch.
Mm.
What about that writing wise is like materially different for you? Is it process? Is it your thought process? What about that changes?
It's it is a little more character oriented because there are no supervillains in play unless you count Mr. Lodge. Um, so that's a big part of it. A big part of it too is just having the ability to be a little absurd because that's the world that those characters live in. I always say that if at some point in the book Archie doesn't get a bucket stuck on his head, then you're not doing it right. Like there's some element of whimsy that there's not much room for in superhero comics, even the fun ones. There's a little whimsy you can do, but in terms of just basic absurdity of comedy, you got to pick your shots when it comes to superhero comics.
Mm.
How do you communicate that to an artist? Like obviously Dan Mora, but versus like I believe it was Veronica Fish and
Yeah.
Fiona Staples at the time.
You first off, you set out looking for artists who are good at that stuff. That's
Mm.
number one.
Mm.
Who are interested and willing to do comedy and are good with faces, good with expressions, good with body language. That's where you go. I don't need somebody who can draw rocket ships and science fiction in an Archie comic. I need somebody who can do the subtle stuff.
We've got a double dose of super chats from Paul Smith and Izzy's Issues. They both want to thank you for Kingdom Come.
My pleasure. I mean, I'm glad you dug it. I'm Alex Ross and I, neither of us, I think, could have have predicted that 30 years later people would be talking about it, but that is pretty awesome.
That is so crazy. Like you sat down to do that book, and I'm sure it was a big deal. I
It
was
wasn't even that big.
5.
I mean, we didn't know it was a big deal until the first issue came out, at which
Mm.
point we were both still working on the fourth issue. And suddenly, holy smokes, this is a much bigger deal than we thought. And that's been I mean, I don't want the only thing on my tombstone to read Kingdom Come, but
Sure.
I'm certainly proud of it.
Kingdom Come and Archie, of course.
Well, yeah, there you go. Exactly. Yes.
And here's one from MP who says, really excited for new history. About what year of Superman and Batman's careers is the continuity currently in? Also, will we see Ralph and Sue in Justice League Unlimited?
Uh, Ralph, you definitely see. Sue is somewhere in continuity limbo for the moment while we're trying to figure this out. And that's one of the great lost moments of 52, because we killed both Ralph and Sue in there. And when we did that, Grant Morrison and I were both in the room together, and we both looked at each other and simultaneously said, Ralph and Sue, ghost detectives. And we were
Yeah.
so excited about this idea, and then it was vetoed by editorial, which is a shame. That could have been a great series.
Mark,
But yes,
it could still be a great series.
Ralph's not a ghost yet anymore, though. So, so yes to Ralph and maybe to Sue, and a little, a shot of Elongated Man in History of the DC Universe 2. Please understand that History of the DC Universe has two components. First off, the 30 pages up front of illustrated montage stuff with captions, and Barry Allen is writing this. It's all Barry Allen's point of view. So there are a billion characters. So please do not be offended if your favorite C level character is not shown. Please do not be offended if the fact that that they don't get enough play, because my God, there's so many characters. But in the back, we will have an extensive timeline that it won't say like year 1, year 2, but it basically puts everything in order. And it basically says, here's what happened. And this is the stuff you can take to the bank from now on in terms of DC continuity, and puts the events in order, starting from the dawn of time to, I think at the end of issue 1 is Krypton exploding. So everything in there. So if you don't see your favorite character in the upfront section, I'm sure they will be referenced somewhere in the timeline.
Okay,
We
so I'll
made an effort not to leave anybody out.
I'll delete my scheduled tweets then.
Yeah, great, excellent,
about
please.
Sideways, the final issue. So cool. Thank you.
Unfortunately, as much as we love comic book fans, one thing they want to do is complain. So,
who we got? Who's up?
Well, I just mean about the history of the DC universe.
Look,
People will.
I know. There will be there will be people who will see something that they don't agree with. There'll also be. Look, I'm praying to God that this thing is bulletproof. I'm praying to God, but like even now, I just reread the first issue before it went to press, and I found one more thing that needed to be fixed. So it's so comprehensive. I am doing my level best to make it bulletproof. Fingers crossed, but there's always the collected edition where we can tweak anything that needs to be tweaked.
I can only imagine like the level of stress that the people who had to prepare Crisis on Infinite Earths and make sure that every nook and cranny
Yep.
of that continuity was lined up properly. I read it took years.
And that was 40 years ago. We have 40 years more history and 40 years more retcons. So, I mean, the number of DC books that have been published since Crisis is more than double the number of DC books that were published before Crisis. So there's so much to get in here. We're doing our level best to make sure that all the big stuff is served. Is your favorite line-wide event from 1992 necessarily going to, is Genesis going to be a, reference? Probably not. We got to pick and choose some stuff, but there you go. Donna Troy, we will get to.
One last question. This comes from Common Sense, and we're representing it because this character is important in this community. Is Sideways a member of Justice League Unlimited?
Technically, they all are. Yes,
there you go.
Yes, he is. And actually, I'm trying to think. He's showing up somewhere. Greg Rucka asked me about that. So that is
Okay.
so there's a Sideways appearance coming up soon. I know that. It might not necessarily be under my pen.
And Rucka's writing that Cheetah Cheshire
Sideways
book coming out. Okay.
Sideways. What? Speaking of characters speaking of the C-level characters, so.
Well, that was my burner that sent that message.
Look, every character somebody's favorite. I don't want to knock every character somebody's favorite. God bless them.
Mark, this has been incredible. We did our best to get everybody's questions in that we could, and ours. This could be 3 times as long, but Mark has to go and write these stories for the characters that we love and hold so dearly. Thank you for every single thing that you do. It does not go unappreciated. I'm sure you get your flowers all the time. That's because you deserve them. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, sir. Hopefully this is not the last time we get to speak, but it's been incredible either way.
My pleasure. It's been a great time. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Take care. Thank you.
You bet. Take care.
We did it.
We're still here. We're alive.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh no, all their names are backwards now though for the live stream. All right, Sean turned white apparently.
Listen, man, I've got it in me.
Do you want any? Never mind. Nope.
I'm in my Michael Jackson era.
He.
Listen, that was fucking cool. I like it went by like a flash. Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, he wrote it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I have a bajillion more questions to ask Mark Waid. So hopefully he enjoyed his time where we can bring him back for something maybe longer term. But we thought he was joking when he said 14 books. No, he is not.
Starts talking about all the little edits and things you had to think about.
Oh man, that made my anxiety go up thinking about what goes into the history of the DC universe. He's like, oh yeah, there's a timeline in the back. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Well, right. Like, you know, I talk a lot about like doing your own personal headcanon for your favorite characters, right? Imagine having to do that on an official level and make it the one. Oh,
real quick, if you enjoyed what we just did, if that was fun for you, subscribe. If you are not subscribed to the channel, we get interviews with top creators very regularly. This is not a weird occurrence for this channel. We spoke to Tom King not that long ago. We've talked to so many of your favorite creators.
The Jason Aaron interview, if you want to check that out afterwards, I think that's probably one of my favorite ones we've done recently.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we promoted it. We asked you guys to show up and support, and you really, really, really did. I want to say thank you to all the super chatters. You guys were amazing. Ted H dropped a bomb on us. Thank you so much for that 50 spot, Ted. Atomic Hound, man, thank you. I'm so glad you were here for this and got to hear that chat. I know that Mark Waid is important to you. Man, that was cool.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Of course, he has a Superman poster right in the background too. You gotta,
hell yeah,
just gotta go for it. But that's a good point that he brought up with the whole World's Finest kind of injecting the DC universe with that vibe, because that's how it felt. You know, World's Finest was an anomaly when it first came out. It was like, oh, this feels different. This is refreshing, and then that slowly seeped into the other stuff until All In happens, and then it's like, okay, yeah, this feels good, and I think that's where that shift in DC really happened, where like now we're a DC podcast allegedly. No, we're a Marvel podcast. I forget the bit.
Oh, forever and always.
Okay.
But I think that right gets taken. People get taken along for the ride on those things, and that very much was one of those books, one of those moments of, oh, this was fun. Oh, maybe we can do more of this. Let's try more of this stuff. Like in a darker world, I don't see a Metamorpho book existing. You know, in a darker world, I don't see a lot of these titles existing. Let alone a Mark Waid now kind of universe world.
Comics are dope. With the $4.99, had to tip after that awesome performance. Thank you so much, dude. Thank you. That was a ton of fun.
And Jay Saves, thank you for your super chat, but I think you're delayed again. So maybe next time we'll sneak that one in.
We'll bank it.
Yeah,
we'll bank it for you, Jay. Sorry about that, dude. Man, how are you guys feeling in the aftermath? Are you having your post coital bliss moment or what?
I'm sending
like
the
post nut clarity. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Not clarity, bliss.
I don't know what that feels like. Just outed myself. Yeah, no, it's great. I want more though. Like it felt like the first hit.
Yeah,
first hit's free.
I
mean, yeah.
A lot of times we can get more out of these creators, and like we were sort of hoping we could play just a little bit with Mark, but he came on and he was like, "How long were you guys hoping for?" Okay, great. I can only give you that. And it was like, okay, cool, dude.
Yeah, normally I'm the one willing to like push the envelope and sort of see what can happen, but this felt like one of those times where not doing that might actually be an investment in the future, so that his memory is, oh, I had a great time and then I was gone, as opposed to, oh yeah, those were those guys who I said 30 minutes and they took an hour. sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kept me. They kept me on the phone. I was trying to get off. Yeah. Oh, I'll let you go now. Oh, but
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I didn't even get to show him my tattoo from his Daredevil run, so like, I didn't. I held back. I held
Oh.
back. No, I didn't do it
was-
on purpose.
I was gonna ask him if he had any lawn care tips.
for the-
That's not a joke.
Having some trouble with the lawn, Cal?
Well, I was just doing it this morning. I
We're
did
talking
my
about an
whole
actual
lawn.
lawn, right? This is not a euphemism.
No. I was mowing. I was cutting my grass. That doesn't help.
You know,
And the only question, like I've been thinking about this interview all day. The only question I could come up with is what he does with his grass. Apparently, he has people do it. We found out
Exactly.
on
Which-
the
right?
That's
Move.
the answer, Cale.
maybe that's it.
That's the move.
Yeah.
That's
He
why
answered
he's
my
writing. Go ahead.
answer my question. I didn't even get to ask it.
Yeah.
That's why he's writing 14 comics a month because he's got people fucking doing his grass.
Well, that's how he can write
Yeah,
14
exactly.
comics a month.
It's funny when,
Funny
when we
books.
were while we were doing it, we got like a retweet on Blue Sky, a resky, whatever it is, repost from Busiek about the show. So
Whoa.
that's
DC
neat.
proper?
Kurt Busiek.
Oh, I
What-
heard.
Oh, you're DC proper. I don't even know if they're on Blue Sky, to be honest.
You see it on here next.
Oh man,
Busiek.
just Astro. Oh, if there's a way we can read Astro City as a book club, there should be an Astro City book club where the theme is Astro City.
We need an Astro City podcast.
There should have been. Well, iFanboy pretty much did a good chunk of that. So
Good.
that's
Let's
about
do
as
another
close.
one.
Chat, what's the feeling after that? How are we feeling? I want to see the live reaction. This is just like WWE. We have a live feedback from you guys. So what's the feeling after that Mark Waid interview?
Except
I
we
wanna
all
know.
have hair, unlike those WWE guys. A lot of bald men on those after shows.
That's true, but I was talking about the live crowd, the live
Oh.
audience, giving you feedback in the moment. Kevin Street says that retweet is why I'm here. Thank you
Hey.
for coming and
Okay.
hanging out. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, if you liked the questions, if you liked the vibe and everything else, please do subscribe. Like I said earlier, we get plenty of interviews, but we also do lots of conversations about comics. This is not a movie podcast channel. We'll do a review for the movies, but most of our conversations are based on core comic stuff and also big picture comic book industry stuff. So if you're into that, this is a good place for you to be, I think.
Yeah, big week for comics too. So on Thursday we'll be talking about the newest releases. So you get 1 day and a half to read your books for the week if you want. But
Yes.
but if you watch Pal's previews that came out yesterday, you get an idea of what we're reading. So that'll be fun. I'm every time I edit Pal's previews, I get more excited for the books that week.
Yeah,
It
oh,
helps
that's
me
right.
out
Oh, that's right.
personally because I don't typically look at previews. I have to for the show. So seeing the art, I'm like, oh yeah, that's who's on that book. That's what this book is about. Friggin' Marcus Martin on Absolute Batman this week.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's right. He's finishing
Issue
that
2, right?
I forget.
freeze arc. Yeah.
I have a goldfish memory. So this definitely helps.
Izzy said, enraptured. I meant to include in my super chat. I'm trying to make a Bible study around Kingdom Come. Dude,
Oh.
why don't you stop speaking my language for like 5 seconds?
I guess
Hey,
that
write
is
a
the
paper,
most
dude. Write a paper.
appropriate title. If only
Write
there
a
was somebody.
sermon is what I do.
If only there was somebody on the show who had a degree in comic books.
Man,
Find him quick. Chop Harder Alchemist. Thank you so much for the $4.99. Thanks, pals, for an amazing interview. Love his approach of elevating that might does not make right, and that morals and ethics have a value still. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. It's what the funny books are there for. It's what superheroes are there for. It's what Mark Waid's there for.
Yeah, I love that he said that. He speaks so passionately about like this is not just a job.
Right.
That's very clear. Like there is a purpose behind this, and you don't always hear that from. I mean, Mark Waid's connection to superheroes is probably deeper than somebody like Ram V. Not denigrating Ram in any way. It's just that Ram's approach to this industry, he's coming at it from a different angle than than Mark Waid is. And all he really does is superheroes. Even his indie stuff, like Irredeemable, is like sort of superhero-y.
Empire, yeah.
That's kind of his
Empire.
lane. Yeah,
God, I hope that book wins.
Also, like consistency too. Like even on social media outside of the books, Mark Waid is consistently consistent with who he is as a person. and doesn't back down. And I've always respected that about him.
And intelligent about the way that he thinks about the construction of the craft. Definitely the part where he was like, he never gets to write funny books. He never gets to write like more comedy things. It is a lost art, but it was great his response to the like art question. Like, yeah, you're right. Like somebody needs to tell the joke. The artist is very much the deliverer of the punchline. No matter what you write,
Yeah.
they're delivering the punchline. They have to really step up.
It's one of the most co-op mediums out there. You know, like because the joke cannot be told by just writing.
Right.
Dawoody with the $5. Did anyone else get a little teary-eyed? Just me? Okay, fine. Hey, C.W. Gordon said he did too, so you're not alone in that, my friend.
I was chopping
not alone.
onions. I was chopping harder alchemist onions on the side here. So it's just the fumes of that. That's all.
Reaching out digitally, huh?
Yeah.
Tom McCown with the $4.99. Great job, pals. Great get for the channel, and hope Mark gets to return soon. Well done. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you, Hal.
Dark Fizo says, got off work early and I'm rewarded with a Comics Pals live with Mark Waid. Great interview, fellas. Thank you so much. And congrats on getting off work early.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
bro, nothing better.
Amazing.
That is the best. Yeah.
Thank you for spending your time here.
Jay Sage, $1.99. Great interview, guys. Was damn near inspiring. First of all, thank you so much, Jay. Sorry that you were watching the video behind, and so you sent in your super chat when Mark was gone, the other one, but really appreciate you. And I think it was inspiring. I came away from that very inspired to hear someone just purely loving comics and purely loving superheroes. No amount of jadedness in what he said. You know, it's very like pure of heart.
Paul in the Discord shared. I'm sure this was what was hanging in behind Mr. Waid, and I would like to know if it's the original. That'd be crazy. I don't know what that is.
Clock what the poster was?
Yeah. He found an image of it. He put it on the new episodes in the Discord.
Wild.
So for anybody who's not in the
think
Discord,
that is what it was.
it
I
definitely
don't.
was.
I think it's a reprint because I think his had a white background. It was Superman on a white background.
Man, a
Go
bunch
watch-
of
go watch
DC
replay.
nerds in that Discord. No, I mean that respectfully.
Bandit said, all I heard in my head at 6 p.m. was Sean going, please show up. It's important. Yeah, but we had 100 people. We had 100 plus people here.
Yeah,
So that's the
appreciate
importance of sharing the message, right? I'm
Dan did
glad.
it.
I'm glad that you heard me in your mind because that's the point of me repeating myself fucking 5 times a week.
Did he have one of those moments like when Cap says "mommy" and Emma Frost shows up? Like,
Must have been. Must have been.
yeah.
Paul Smith, when you have him back on, please ask him about Impact Comics. Would really like to get his thoughts on that 90s imprint. Dude, I was ready to ask Mark Waid about the direct market. I really wanted to talk because he's been here since 85. So that means that he's experienced the direct market at almost every phase except that initial decade. I was dying to hear his thoughts, but it's just 30 minutes is not. I'm sure Cale had more questions. I'm sure Mark, like, it's just so hard, you know.
I don't recognize
Hopefully.
any of these characters. Impact Comics is new to me. Whoa, interesting. Is this
Yeah, you guys did show up for real, Near. You really, really did, and I appreciate that. You guys go hard for us. It's beautiful.
For real.
Some of these Impact Comics characters are rad, actually.
It's the 90s, bro.
But like they look cooler than 90s characters.
Charlotte
Oh,
says,
yeah,
can't let the guys down when they put out the PAL signal. Hell
What
yeah.
would the PAL signal look like?
Hot dog.
Just one hot dog projected
Yep.
in the sky.
Yep.
That would draw me to it.
Claiming. Yeah, but for other reasons.
Just a giant weenie in the sky.
I kind of feel like the PALS signal is just our logo. Like, it's perfect for that. It's got the sign. It looks like it's ready to light up. It's perfect.
That's true.
But it's a word. It's not like a symbol.
Well, the arrow, of course.
Oh.
I always think it's like the Beetlejuice thing, and when he's on the model set, it's the arrow pointing to like Beetlejuice's club.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Dawoody becoming a Comics Pals VI pal. Thank you so much for that, Dawoody. Dawoody the Double Dipper, I'm going to refer to you as. Appreciate you, dude.
Dawoody, big boy, Dawoody.
Dakota X, aka Spiral Storm. I finished my Man of Steel piece, so here I came. Yeah, I'll be reading that.
Cool.
It's my reading for tonight.
And that's a threat.
Yeah, make sure it's tip top because I'm gonna fucking look at it.
That's how I dirty talk.
Comics are dope. Hashtag. All right, now it's
Hashtag Team
getting
Sky
Wow.
Glizzy.
all right.
Hold
guys.
on, hold on.
Sky
hold on.
Sky
Aren't-
Glizzy sounds like a plaque psoriasis drug.
Aren't you the pause guy around here? How are you gonna say hashtag Team Sky Glizzy?
Right.
Not say pause, but then come for me?
He didn't listen. He didn't say it out loud.
Say it, type it.
I mean, to be the pause guy, you gotta know what's pause worthy.
There it is.
Hey, what's up, Izzyverse? Says, listen to the interview. Great work. Mark Waid is an awesome dude. Yeah, he is. And you know what I learned that I didn't know? Like, if you had to take a guess, how old would you say Mark Waid is?
52.
And you, of course, 52, Marco.
You think Marco gets that reference?
No, I just think it's
Great
just
point.
ingrained in it.
I
My
said
favorite
it.
thing is he sat there quietly after I said that. Like, no shit, yeah, I don't
What
get that
reference?
No,
What
no.
reference?
Because I said it. I said it, and then Cale, and then Tyler was like, "Oh, good reference," and then I'm like, "Oh, okay, I see what it is." I didn't get it at first. I was like, it was a shot in the dark.
Just falling onto a rake. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
He's 63.
Oh, okay.
Looking good. That's what
I thought-
that's what getting off Twitter does to your skin, I guess.
I guess so, yeah. And but like even his, like he's just not out of touch. Like I wanted to ask him about that. Like you're like, how do you ask someone that, right? Like you're old. How do you stay in touch? How do you ask that? But like it's true.
But like
He said
he's been writing
CNN
comics for
online.
40 years. So he started writing when he was 23.
Wow.
Like that's it's young. You know, that's like out of college age. Going right into the workforce of comics.
That's how it used to be. It's not
Yeah.
like that. Now people are debuting at the ripe old age of 35.
Yeah, after you've
That's
had a
what
hit TV show.
That's what they told me I could do.
They lied to us, Cale. They lied to
Well,
us.
that I'm sure he agrees with that too.
Still got 3 years.
The grander scheme of things.
BJ, you didn't come for me today. Not today, but you make it a habit of coming for me.
Even you saying that
Pause.
sounds pause-worthy.
Yeah, but I'm not the king of pause. I don't present myself that way. I don't go around. Pause is not even in my lexicon in that context. I'm using it against BJ.
King of Paws sounds like a furry fan account.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Now I gotta.
What's
look that up
what's
on Twitter.
the speedrunner that's the big furry Sonic
Sonic Fox.
Sonic
Sonic
Fox.
Fox,
He's the
yeah.
king of paws.
He's a speedrunner? I thought he was a gaming fighting game guy.
I don't know. I
He
don't
is.
I
Yeah,
don't
okay.
know what he is.
Atomic Hound says, as an old dog, I can't tell you how inspiring it is to see a multi-generational talent like Mark continue to flourish and inspiring the next generation.
Yeah, I mean, like even when he was writing Daredevil at Marvel, like he was doing some great work, and everyone, you know, he wasn't doing DC work at the time. So seeing him finally back there, it's really reinvigorated, I think, his work in the best way possible, and he just seems happy there as well.
Yeah, I don't want to use the word reinvigorated because last time I did that, I got in trouble.
Who'd
But
you
I
use it on?
completely agree with you. Sorry?
Aaron, Jason Aaron.
Yeah, Jason Aaron. Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Acting as if everything that's happened in the intervening years between Thor and now was fucking great.
I like his Avengers run.
Good for you.
Still waiting for you, Robbie Reyes. Where you
I
at?
love that Mark was like, you know, the editors and the younger guys in the room will all be like, oh yeah, it's such a creative idea that we can learn where Superman's glasses come from. And Mark was like, yeah, man, that's just what we do. I don't know.
I hope. Oh man, there's got to be a Daily Planet situation where it's a lot of that. I can see Dan Slott kind of tackling that kind of dynamic.
CW Gordon says, love that this VOD will now have an incredible Mark Waid interview and also some classic pals degenerate shit.
Uh-oh.
That's a good point. We should probably cut this. I want
Separate
people to
'em.
see us at our best.
We had plans for after this too.
We did?
Loose plans.
Oh.
Loose plans. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I guess we should get off here.
Do I have to?
It's fun. I see a big amount of live viewers, and I never want to stop.
PC number
So-
big. Keep going.
Yeah,
Well,
pretty much.
let's keep going.
So everyone
Don't be
just
scared.
leave. Just leave. No.
Don't stop.
Wow. Marowak Oscuro said Jerry Conway was 19 when he replaced Stan Lee in Amazing Spider-Man. Can you imagine?
I was.
That's
Damn, what was I doing at 19?
How does one get that? Like, how do you do that? You just walk into the bar and
Well,
No
back,
joke.
not even-
Back
Yeah.
then, you could walk up to
Yeah.
Stan Lee at the office and go, "Hi, can I write Spider-Man?"
Marco, literally check out the Untold History of the Marvel Universe or Marvel Comics. Great biography of Marvel. A lot of it was that, or them
My-
bumping into people on college campuses who were like
my
rode in.
parents still think I could be a janitor at Marvel and get a writing job.
Yeah, my dad at one point was like, "Yeah, why don't you just pick up an application?" I'm like, "Excuse me,
yeah, yeah.
Pardon?
What?
Just pick up an application."
CW Gordon, if you can't handle me at my Sky Glizzy, you don't deserve me at my inspirational interview with a legend.
That's true.
That's it. That's it.
Sean, I'm glad you were reserved enough not to bring up Perpetua and Batman Who Laughs showing up soon in this We Are Yesterday event.
Listen, dude,
That was
keep my
potentially
shit.
risky.
I'm never gonna come on here and let it get unwieldy with a creator. I respect Mark Waid, but I don't respect that decision.
Pick your battles. Pick your battles.
Exactly.
Listen. It's Mark Waid. He could do something with it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm fucking around. It'll probably be really good.
Yeah.
I I actually don't
Well,
really care.
Perpetua and the Batman Who Laughs will be in it, so
It's got Ultraman
I'll have
though.
to- I love Ultraman.
You love when he's eating crack.
Snorting. I want to
Yeah.
see him snort that crack.
I want to see him like rubbing it on his gums.
Oh my.
You're wild.
Oh man, yes. Marowak Oscuro pointing out that Peter David was in sales before writing Spider-Man. That's the kind of shit that could happen back then,
Yeah.
and not in sales for not like working in sales for Goldman Sachs or whatever. He was working in sales at Marvel. Like what the fuck?
Literally
Transamerica.
the start in the mailroom sort of deal.
Right. It's amazing. Tilo says Batman Beyond will also be there. Well, that's a plus. I did not know that.
Yeah. Dakota X Spiral Storm said Untold Story of Marvel is so good. I recommend that book. I do too. That's a really, really fun summation of the Marvel timeline, which I think is, I don't want to say easier, but probably a little more straightforward than DC's with all the reboots. So this new History of the DC Universe coming up feels like that on hard mode, which is exciting for me. I mean, the cover alone's got Wildcat on it. It's got original Starman. It's got Sandman, Unknown Soldier.
Oh, Unknown Soldier.
Yeah. The Hush
Ooh.
design before Hush.
I love that character.
Yeah.
The Joshua Desart Unknown Soldier series is one of the best non-Big Two books I've ever read. Love that. Damn you all with the $10. Nice of y'all to give small creators a platform. Like, for real though, sad I missed it. Wanted to ask about finding hope in a world that despises it. Well, you didn't have to super chat to get that answer because he talked exactly about that.
Yeah, he definitely tackles on that. That's the thing that's key to him as a person. So it's going to come out no matter what.
Thanks, damn you all. Glad you made it.
We're here
Late,
to provide
but-
a nice platform.
Hell yeah. And if you guys have any other small indie creators you want us to talk to and, can help us facilitate, I mean, Scott Snyder, Alan Moore would be great. I saw somebody saying earlier that was our next step up. If we get Alan Moore, that's it.
Next week.
we'll put Alan Moore. We probably have to close the book. Like, what else can we do?
Who else is there to talk to?
Cale, have you knocked on the obelisk that is his front door recently?
Terrified.
Yeah, the aura. It has a weird humming, I heard.
Well, and the snakes that are on either side, they they lash out at.
Yeah.
There's so many dead postmen at his door. It's not nice.
Got to know the answer to the riddle.
You can't even
And
get
I'm
that far.
stupid.
Wow. Kelly Thompson or Hayden Sherman. Well, not that we wouldn't have Kelly on. Of course we would, but we've had Kelly on the show.
Kelly's due, I think, for her yearly trip on the show. Actually,
I agree. Yeah, totally.
Oh.
I was feeling jealous. She was on Nearman Conditions channel,
yeah.
and I was feeling like, oh, whoa, hold on.
Whoa.
Kelly does our show.
She's one of ours. What do you?
Yeah.
No.
And then she
Polly has infiltrated the comic book review podcast fandom as well. So
Omar referenced. I commented during the live stream, and Omar referenced it, and then she's like, "Oh," and then she mentions another podcaster, and she's like, "I don't know if you guys all just know each other or like what's like." Yeah, we kind of do now. That's how it goes. Start a wizarding podcast, like Harry Potter, Wizarding World. What does that mean?
Well, like Alan.
that's the way we
Round-
get
Oh.
Alan on the show. Yeah.
Izzy said, "I'd love to see y'all talk to Gmo. We could all do drugs and watch Grant talk at you guys. Not me.
Yeah. Kale's already called out on that one.
I'm out. I
do it.
simply cannot."
Could you like meekly sit there and be quiet, like first 200 episodes, Marco?
Steve, how do you know who Arlen Schumer is?
Instantly
Oh, no.
demonetized. Wait.
Oh no! I swear he comes up annually somehow.
So, well, like between us, I didn't know
Between
anybody
us.
else knew who he was.
Well, you've mentioned him on the show. That's Steve dropping some Comics Pals lore, I would assume.
No way.
I don't
Have
think
we?
so.
I think you have mentioned it. I don't know, palling around at some point.
Maybe.
Okay,
A little more
maybe.
unfiltered.
maybe.
there, yeah.
Maybe. That's so funny.
Wow.
Why?
What's it? Why?
Yeah,
Raising Sloth
yeah.
said Dennis Camp would be a cool interview. That guy's probably crazy busy. That's why we were denied.
Yeah.
Because
Twice.
he is crazy busy.
Yep.
2 separate occasions.
Wow.
He denied us twice. What was the first time?
He's got he's an assistant, so
It was that one, and then I reached out separately.
Oh, okay.
my sliding in the DMs doesn't usually work either, Marco. It's fine. You get used to it.
Yeah. Oh, Steve says I used to hang with him at our comic studio
Oh,
Oh, wow.
in New York.
Wow.
Funny. Well, if you don't know about the lore, check out Palling Around.
It's in there.
Somewhere. Discover.
interview Dan Mora. That would be cool. But how could he possibly have the time to draw all those comics and talk to us goofballs?
I'm pretty sure he has a homunculus.
Mm.
Yeah.
That does the talking or the drawing?
At this point, probably the talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Spanish.
Spiral
Yeah.
Storm wants to see us talk to Roy Thomas.
I wouldn't mind that. Chris Claremont's one of those that's up there for me.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
That would be an easy get.
Yeah, I just think I would just hit that guy. Like, I love a person who loves to yap. And Chris Claremont. I saw it on my Facebook memories. I logged into Facebook for the first, like, my monthly Facebook login today. And it was like 10 years ago when I met Chris Claremont at a sighting at Forbidden Planet. That, like,
yeah.
they like snuck me. I tried getting you in, Marco, and then you had
I had
to
to
bail
go.
like
I had
last
to
minute.
go somewhere.
Yeah.
I remember that.
You were in line too, and you had to bail like right beforehand. But like they snuck
Yeah.
us in like in front of the line because it was like through like the X-Men Dark Phoenix premiere or something like that.
That's right. Yes.
And he was just talking to me, and the whole line is backed up, and he just keeps talking. And they like signed my copy of Dark Phoenix like to Tyler. So yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
Damn, I can't believe I missed out on that.
Was Matt there?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, he
yes.
was with me too. Yeah.
Dude, I went there that fucking day. Was that at the movie premiere?
No, it was
No,
in
it
the
was-
Forbidden Planet.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
right.
I think you
okay.
came late. I think because you had to make your way down or something, and I think I left because I had to go back to work or something.
You had to go back to work. Yeah. Yeah.
Damn. You literally
Mark
texted me like
Miller.
5 minutes later.
Yeah, we would talk to Mark. I would love to talk to Mark Miller.
Of course, we talked to him.
I'd have thoughts.
Sure.
I would be there. I I'd have to vibe check before my thoughts are expressed, but I would be there.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Steve, we've actually had Garth Ennis. It's not the
Yes.
interview you want it to be.
Oh no, not the ideal.
I feel like you
It's
got to
fine.
talk about his war comics at that point. I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We had to, do the homework. I had
Michael,
fun.
I did too. I thought it was good.
Yeah. Chillmonger says Chris NDA immune Claremont. Yeah, I mean
Yep.
that's a fun interview then, right?
Oh, Matt Fraction. That's good.
Fraction would be great actually. I mean Bendis is up there for me. Bendis as
Fracture
well.
would be up there with Waid for me.
Oh,
What's your
How do we
favorite
get-
Fraction book?
Iron Fist.
Man, that needs a reread for me. Oh, we could easily do a Fraction month if it comes to that. Oh, hold on, jot that one down.
needs a read from me.
Oh, David Aha on that. Ooh.
Rob Liefeld.
Would like.
First of all, we're blocked
Yeah,
on
blacklist. Are we
X
still? Let me check.
by him for no
I'm
reason
checking.
at all.
Yeah.
But we did interview him
Our
at
first year?
Philly,
Philly.
some Philly con, and he was awesome. He was great.
Patty, he laughed at the jokes. It was good.
Yeah.
3 days later.
Yeah.
Yep, you're still blocked. What did you guys
Oh, yeah.
do with before I was here? Jeez, come on.
Literally
spoke
nothing.
to the guy.
What are you
Yeah.
doing? Jesus.
Got caught up in one of those lists. I feel like we spoke
Whoa.
about it on the news that week.
What list? Oh, the block list. Got it. Yeah, yeah.
Nicole Maines
Yep.
says Luna. I would love to interview Nicole Maines.
Yep.
That would be
That'd be great.
she would be a great guy. Yeah.
The Todd father. I got to ask him about why there was only one Wonder Woman figure. Or two. I think there was two.
Jeff Lemire, we tried that.
Yeah.
We tried that. Yeah.
He got busy.
Yeah.
That's not an unreal possibility though. I think we can try and bark up that tree again.
I gotta do a follow up in another like 3 months.
Yeah. Lemire would be good. Lemire would be awesome to talk to.
I'd love to
Like,
talk to him.
everybody you guys are suggesting would be great. Some of them we've reached out to already, like we say. Some of them we haven't. But you're definitely going to continue to see, interviews on this channel with the biggest names that we can get. And we've done a pretty good job so far this year, I think. So the best, maybe Mark Waid may be the tippy top of what we can actually do this year, but I think we can still accomplish a lot with the time that we have.
You might see some non-creators on the show too.
Oh.
Can I tease
Might
that?
you?
Can I tease that? Okay. Oh, I just did. Too bad.
Well, you did. Not for a while, but you did.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. We can't say that, Marco.
Oh.
Yeah, because I haven't received a confirmation yet.
Okay.
So I'll follow up.
It's
make sure.
it's called the ice cream syndrome that we are now dealing with. We need to be very careful not to experience ice cream syndrome again.
Yeah, dude, because that happened to us with Ice Cream Man, and then it almost happened with Rich Johnston, where Cale and I had to
Oh yeah.
just do our own thing for like an hour before he was able to jump on board.
Yeah.
Oh, Patrick Horvath. Interviewed him at New York Comic Con.
Yeah, good interview,
Yes.
Marco. Yeah.
It was cool. It was a fun time.
Man, C.W. Gordon, Greg Rucka is my guy. I was lucky enough to interview him at another place that we worked for. And it was me and like 3 other people who didn't know what the fuck he did. And it was such a great conversation. He is as real as it gets. I love Greg Rucka. I wish we could talk to him on here. Well, I haven't even tried, so I shouldn't even say
Yeah.
I wish. I haven't tried.
I want earring recommendations.
Michael Hugh with the what about comic book store owners? Couple in the pipeline. I should finalize that one.
In the pipeline, and we've also done Anyone Comics a long time ago.
Yeah. Demetrios.
Store in Brooklyn, yeah, with Demetrios, great guy.
That was before they had 2 stores, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
They just opened on Nostrand Avenue, just down. That was my local shop before I moved.
They moved like right around the corner.
Hayden, we've talked to Joshua Williamson, but I think that's probably going to end up happening again. we
Josh
talked to him.
recognizes us at cons, so our rapport is pretty good with Josh. It's just that he's so busy
Yeah.
with writing. It's tricky.
He's such a nice guy. He makes his way to be like, hey guys.
Oh yeah, he's super chill.
Between writing comics and doing interviews with Sal, Joshua Williamson
Yeah.
has no time left. No time.
And any of that other time is filled with probably going to a theme park.
Right.
Yeah.
And playing with his figures. He has a
Yeah.
ton of incredible toys.
Which is why I get along with him.
Yeah, you guys are like this, 2 peas in a pod.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but sure.
Paul Smith, yes, would be great if you got more people that are in the trenches, so to speak, on talking about how they feel about the industry at this moment. We try.
Are you talking shop owner trenches? You talking retailer trenches? You talking creator trenches? You talking okay, just the industry, so not actual warfare trenches. Okay, cool.
Ryan North
There'll be
would
something
great.
there.
Ryan North might be a little tricky. I don't know if our stream layout would be able to fit enough headroom. Dude's really tall, so I'd have to figure something out there.
Just talk to his chin.
It's like a Miss Bellum situation when we.
Raging Sloths, would you all ever interview some of the notable Comics Pals listeners? Well, we have. We've interviewed Comics Are Dope. We've interviewed Gavin Guidry. We've interviewed Sal. We've interviewed Comics Explained. So we've interviewed tons of Comics Pals listeners.
Gil's been on the show.
Humble brag. If only there was a call-in feature that I should look into or something. I don't know.
Oh, that thing I asked about?
Yeah,
that'd
you
be
know.
great.
But it's good to see. It's hard to get good help anywhere.
Have you interviewed Wes Craig? I personally have at Comic Cons, but we've never actually gotten to do it together here on the show. I fucking love Wes Craig, and I would love to have him on here. I got to reach out. I hesitated because I think I read him on Instagram talk about how busy he was. So I was like, he's probably not going to do anything with us. But now might be a good time to reach out and see.
Almost lethally chill, that dude. Infectiously.
So for him to say he's busy, don't mess with him.
Yeah, infectiously chill.
Yeah,
Two.
he's awesome. Very awesome. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. Thank you so much for answering the call of duty. We asked you to come out. We asked you to support, and you did in a big way, not just by showing up, but some of you contributed super chats. Hopefully we got some subscribers out of the deal. Keep telling us what creators you want us to interview, and you know what? It doesn't hurt if you on social media say, hey, would you ever go on the Comics Pals show? Just spreading the word to those who may not have heard of us before. It always helps us get through the door if the person that we're reaching out to already knows who we are.
Yeah. If there's like a cosign that okay, we saw Mark Waid was on the show. That might be a good cosign for other people. So share it.
Well, speaking of co-signing, that's a good point. We had Adam Freeman on not that long ago, and what he liked was that we had interviewed Chris Arant from Popverse.
Yep.
So it worked like that. Happens all the time. You guys are great. Thank you for showing up. We will be live again next with you on Thursday for Pals Poll, 6 p.m. Eastern, and then again on Saturday at 10:15 a.m. for the final part of the Direct Market Deep Dive. Hope to see you guys all there. Until then, take care, guys.
See you next week.